here we are, and this is episode 8 of the full network setup series of videos. And in this video we're going to be adding a G4 doorbell and a smart chime to our UNVR UniFi Protect. At the moment you will see I've got some slides on the screen. Now unfortunately I would have liked to have filmed my electrician installing my doorbell. Because it was also tied in with some other electrical work, it was a bit difficult to film it at that time. So I'm bringing you some slides which you can see on the screen. So at the moment you can see that the G4 doorbell has been installed outside of my front door in a convenient, ideal location actually. And the cable for this runs through the actual brick wall through a hole in the back of the G4 doorbell mounting plate, and it runs through the brick to the other side inside of my front entrance. So we'll move on to the second slide, and you'll see that where the doorbell is mounted, and you will see where the doorbell is mounted and what angle it's at. And the actual hole was drilled from the back of the doorbell mounting plate, as I just said, and it went all the way through at a downward angle through into the wooden cabinet that you can see in the bottom corner of this picture at the moment. So moving on to the next slide, you'll see that the cabinet is there, and this is inside of my property. So there in the bottom in the bottom left hand corner there is the corner of the cupboard, and here you can see the cupboard door itself inside. So moving on to the next slide, you'll see where the cupboard door has been opened, and you'll see the white doorbell wire which is coming through the hole in the wooden cabinet frame, and that goes into the electricity fuse board which you can see on the picture at the left hand side at the moment. Here you will see the fuse board which has had its cover opened, and you'll see that there are various fuses and MCB trip switches in there, and in the centre of the picture at the moment you'll see the UniFi logo, and on the BX6TF this is actually the doorbell transformer that is actually wired into the doorbell wire into the back of the G4 doorbell. So it's actually mounted, the actual transformer, on the mounting rail inside the fuse board, which looks a lot neater, and it's actually protected by an MCB. It's actually connected up to the same circuit as my lights are. So rather than me do all this work myself personally, I decided to get an electrician to do it at the same time as he was doing some other electrical work for me. So moving on to the next picture, you will see that there's the UniFi smart chime which has been plugged into the electric socket which was already installed at the side of the electric meter and fuse board cupboard. So it's ideal as it's quite close to the doorbell itself, and also it's quite close to my Wi-Fi access point which is actually mounted on the ceiling in the same entrance hall. So hopefully you can see how it's been installed. So now that we've connected up the actual smart chime and also the G4 doorbell, and both of the devices have power going to them, we will move into the UniFi Protect application on my UNVR, and we'll proceed to adopt the devices and configure them, and I'll show you how to do that now. Before we go in and add the devices into the UniFi Protect application on the UNVR, we need to allocate the devices via a mobile phone. Now, in order to do this, I have both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled, and also I have UniFi Protect application installed. You will see that I've installed the UniFi Protect application already on my mobile phone here, and it's connected to the same 2.4 gigahertz network, and it also has Bluetooth enabled. It's connected to the same 2.4 gigahertz network as what my G4 doorbell and also my smart chime will be connected to, and also I have Bluetooth enabled. So firstly we need to open the UniFi Protect application. Then from the top here you need to make sure that you've selected your UNVR rather than your router. So make sure that you're logged into your UNVR. As you will see on the screen here, we need to click on the second icon, which is the one here, which is for devices, and that's the second icon from the left. And you'll see that the icon has turned blue, and we have a G4 doorbell which is ready to be adopted. So we will click tap to adopt, and then click adopt device. Now it's connecting to the device, and it should connect via Bluetooth, which it has done, and it's now connecting to the Wi-Fi network. Here we have the G4 doorbell connected to our network. So we will now proceed to click back on our mobile phone screen and then select IoT. So we will now click tap to adopt under the IoT settings, as you'll see here in blue on the screen. Next to the UP Smart Chime, we will click tap to adopt and then select adopt device. It's connected to Bluetooth, and now it's saying to select a Wi-Fi network. So again we will select the 2.4 gigahertz network and put in our Wi-Fi access password. Now it's saying connecting to network. Now we can name the smart chime. In this case I will call it CHIM01. Click on the blue tick button and then select next. And now it's asking me to select the doorbell ring volume. So at the moment it's a little bit loud for me, so I will select it as 60% and select done. Now we have the G4 doorbell which has been paired to the smart chime, as you'll see on the screen here at the moment. So now that we've finished doing that, we can go back to the application and exit that, and we can then proceed to go into our UNVR via website access onto the PC and enter the password which we use to access our UNVR. This will then take you into your UNVR UniFi OS console, and then from there we will select devices. Here you will see that there's the G4 doorbell and also the door chime are both allocated to the UNVR. So from the top right corner here you need to click on the dotted square icon and then select the Protect application from the pop-up menu that appears. This will then take you into your UniFi Protect main screen, where you'll see a list of recordings at the top of the screen, which you can see I'm hovering over here. If we click on ongoing, which is the first one, which is to the leftmost of the recordings, you will see that there's a live picture of the doorbell being displayed, and you'll see a vehicle has just gone past. So we know that the doorbell is working. So we can then click X on the pop-up window to close it, and then from the left hand side menu we can select the second icon down, which is for UniFi devices. This will show you your UniFi Protect client devices that have been set up on your UNVR, and as you can see we have the door chime and also the G4 doorbell. They both have excellent network experience, which is good. So from there we can select Chime 01, and then from the pop-up menu that appears you will see that it shows you some information about the Chime itself. For example, the model number, the firmware version, the MAC address, the host, which is its IP address, and also the uptime. We can then proceed to click on settings. Here you will see that the name of the smart chime, which we've already entered on our mobile phone screen, and you'll see the device that it's been paired with from the drop down menu that appears. You will then see that the sound level has been set to 60%, and this is the volume of the door chime itself. Again, we can click test chime tone. Then moving down to the next option we can select manage. Here you can restart the device or forget it. For example, you would click on forget if you wanted to reallocate the device or move it onto a different UniFi network completely. For example, you could click forget device if you wanted to move the door chime back to be managed by your UDM Pro, for example, instead of the UNVR. You can also restart the device if it crashes for some reason, and that's about it for those options. So we will click X, and then we will select the next device in the list, which is the G4 doorbell. Here this will take you to the overview screen where it will show you the status, the model, device, version, last motion detected, the MAC address, IP address of the device, the FPS, which is for frames per second, and that's currently set at 30 frames per second, and thus the bit rate is set at 3000 kilobits per second. You'll also see that the voltage that it's using is there, and also the uptime, connected time, and the last ring. Scrolling down a little bit further, you'll see the SSID, which is the name of the wireless network it's connected to, which of course we know it's 10GT2, which is the 2.4 gigahertz network. You'll also see the BSSID, which is the MAC address of the wireless network. Also the wireless channel it's connected to, and the signal level and the transmission rate. So we can then proceed to click on recording mode. Then from the pop-up window that appears we can select I agree, and then the recording mode is set to always, or we can select it to never or detections. I believe we will select detections so that it only records something when it detects movement. Here you can then select a schedule. There's no schedule applied at the moment, but you can apply a recording schedule, so you can set it to record at different times of the day or different days of the week, for example. We'll then click apply changes, and then we can select detections to record. Here we can select motion detection or smart detection. At the moment by default we have motion detection selected, so we'll leave that as it is for the time being. Then below that we can select detection record settings. Here we can adjust the settings related to how your motion detection events are captured. For example, we can then set it to seconds of motion needed to trigger detection. So basically, once it's detected 1 second worth of trigger detection, it will then start recording And there's also below that seconds to record before motion detection, so it will start recording 2 seconds before the motion has been detected. And then it will also, from the third option down, it will record 2 seconds after the motion has been detected. We'll leave that as it is for the time being. So from the next option we can select recording quality. Here you can select high frame rate mode. High frame rate mode gives you ability to watch videos in slow playback and improves video latency. When enabled, some features are disabled, such as 4K recordings, HDR, that may decrease video image quality. So at the moment it's set to 30 frames per second, which is a smooth video playback, and we'll leave that as it is at the moment. The image quality is currently set to 42%. We will increase that slightly to 60%. Then for detections and privacy zones, we can edit the motion zone. So for example, from the pop-up window that appears, we can lower the motion zone so that, for example, it only detects motion in the purple shaded area of the screen. So as we don't want it to detect cars, we will reduce this down so that it hopefully is able to exclude the road, and click save. This should only then detect motion in the purple shaded areas. So let's click save on that, and hopefully that should improve the detection rate. And then click on close player, and we can then proceed to select edit smart detection zone. At the moment I'll leave that as it is and close it. Then we can see from the next option, add crossing line. Click the button below to add a new crossing line. I don't think we need to do that, so we'll leave that as it is. And then we can also add privacy zone. We'll close that at the moment, as we have the motion zone already adjusted anyway, so we'll close that as it is. Then click on settings, and here we can give that a name. So at the moment I will rename it from G4 Doorbell to DBEL01 and select apply changes. As I always answer the door anyway and don't need the microphone detection, I will click disable permanently for the microphone. Then you'll see that the microphone has now been disabled. Now you'll see the next option is infrared, and this is set to automatic. I will leave that as it is and test it with the automatic setting set as it is at the moment. For the camera I don't need status sounds, but I do want the status light enabled, so I'll leave that ticked as it is by default, and the status sounds is unticked by default. Now that we've done the status light option, we can select the next option, which is share live stream, and this allows you to share a live stream with the link. At the moment it's disabled, so I'll leave that as it is for the time being, and select the next option down, which is doorbell message. The default doorbell message that appears on the doorbell screen itself is welcome. I'm going to change that to hello and click on display message. This will change the message to hello, and then from the chime option, this allows you to select a door chime type depending on what type of door chime you have. If, for example, you're not using a smart chime, you can either select a mechanical door chime or a digital one. If you're using a smart chime, you should leave that as selected as none, which I have done, as you will see here. So moving down to the next option, we have overlay information. Now what this does is provides an overlay or status information on your doorbell video screen which you're viewing in a window. For example, here I will show you the doorbell screen at the moment, and we have, for the overlay information, I have nerd mode ticked and logo. So let's untick those and just leave time selected and click apply changes. So this then changes the video window so that it just shows the date and the time of the video doorbell. So let's click close player and then move down to Wi-Fi connection. Here this will allow you to select the Wi-Fi network which you want your doorbell connected to. So then if we go to the advanced option, we have real-time streaming protocol, also called RTSPS, which allows you to, for example, in say VLC media player, you can select the video streaming resolution where you could play the remote stream in VLC media player or in another RTSPS enabled video player. As I'm not using anything else to view the video, we will leave those options as they are at the moment. Then the final option is for manage. We can either restart the camera or forget it. If you want to click forget, that will forget it on the network so that you can adopt the device on a new UniFi network or move it to some other UniFi network if you wanted to. Let's now click X on the pop-up window, and that completes setting up the UniFi Protect with the two devices. So we'll go through the other options in the left hand side menu. Here we can select the third icon down, which is for live view and which provides a larger screen size of your video camera to which it's displaying at the moment. So let's move on to the next option, which is for playback, and which is the arrow icon, as you'll see I'm hovering over. And what this does is allows you to play back video at various times of the day when it's actually detected movement in your detection area. So you'll see at the right hand side here is a graph of when it's started recording and when it's ended recording, for example. You can also select detections from this pop-up menu, and here this will provide you with a list of detections where it's detected movement in front of your doorbell. As we changed the detection zone, you will see that there's not so many detections now since 1624 hours. It's now 1729 hours. And the last detection was at 1632 actually, which is the top one here. That was the last detection. So from the next option at the left hand side we can select on detections, and here you'll see it's provided recorded videos of all the detections. This again was before we selected and set the detection zone. Here you will see this video here that it's detected a bird, which you can hopefully see where my icon is on the screen. We play that back again, you'll see that the bird is moving, so it's actually detected movement from the bird. You can actually refine the detection so that it doesn't actually detect wildlife in your garden, for example. So we'll move down to the next option and select Insights. Here it provides you with a graph and where various motion detections were detected, and this is highlighted in the purple colour and green shaded areas, as you will see here. We can also select person detection. At the moment there's no person detected. Then we can select vehicle detection. Moving on, we can then select roles, and here this is where you will find the list of users that's actually set up and able to access the UNVR. At the moment we have administrator and view only. These are default accounts that are set up in there, so you can actually add further users if you so wish. Then the next option down is for system log, which provides a log of various system options. For example, when the UP Chime was adopted, the Doorbell was adopted, and the Protect application updated. Then we go down to the last option, which is for settings, and which we went through previously when we were setting up the UNVR. So we don't need to change anything in there at the moment. So going back, we will go back to the dashboard, and then we can select sign out of the UNVR from the top right hand icon, and then click sign out. Hope you like watching this video, hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like, and keep a lookout for further videos coming very soon. Bye for now.